This is a presentation on spiritual reality and death. The Hellenistic Hermetics and philosophers referred to spiritual reality as ta'anta, the things that really be, true being, as opposed to existence. They were referred to as ha'olamim among the Hebrews, the eternal sources of our manifest universe. So what is spiritual reality? It's the eternal structure of being that emanates from the one root of all reality. This is not a deity, but what philosophers call Godhead. Gods are created by the human mind, but Godhead, known to Yeshua as the Abba, emanates all manifest reality like an eternal fountainhead. Godhead is intimately immanent and with us in our deepest parts, and yet beyond all comprehension. The spiritual reality that emanates from Godhead, that underlies all being, is unmanifest, unknown, and unseen. It cannot be perceived by the senses, but it can be partially apprehended through closed eyes and inattention to the senses. It can be partially apprehended through science and the laws of nature. It does not manifest in images, but is reflected in nature. It can be described only in allegory and simile. Spiritual reality can be compared to a computer code. It can be understood allegorically as a grand unified mathematical idea. The wisdom or chachma of the ancient Jewish sages was like this. The logos of the Christian and Platonic Kabbalists was like this. The ideas of the Vedas and of the ancient Hindus was like this. Spiritual reality is encoded like a computer code into a physical operating system. In our case, it's done by mechanical means. But the program itself is mathematical, a non-mechanical, immaterial, and invisible idea, the computer program. It can be decoded only by observing its effect on the operating system. The goal of science is to understand the grand code of spiritual reality that operates all that manifests in form. Scientists and visionaries can further human knowledge by observation and attunement to this reality. The invisible reality is reflected in the visible reality. That is why we can gain knowledge of it. This was the ancient Hermetic idea. As above, so below. As within, so without. As in spirit, so in flesh. What the eye sees, and the mind sees, and the soul sees, when they all look at the same things. All are images of the human intellect and its frames of reference. In sleep or prophetic vision and in death, we all confront a common reality. Mind without body, mind without physical organs of sense perception, mind with only its own personal frame of reference. Over many millennia, shamans and prophets and visionaries familiar with this state have left us very similar descriptions from diverse cultures. We can access a similar state in deep meditation. We can attune with spiritual reality to optimize our daily lives and prepare ourselves for the inevitable process of death. Here is what the kabbalistic inner circle teachings of Yeshua from the Aramaic core of the Gospel of Thomas seem to imply about the death process. After death, the images of human consciousness that we hold in our mind begin to dissolve. It's more like a dream reality. we are brought into a state where we can seek light, or we can fail to seek light. But the illusion of personal self, which is called the nephesh, remains for a time as in a dream. The nephesh is the personality, the personal being, the mind clutter that we all have in our lower minds, our genders, our languages, our cultures, our likes and dislikes. All that is part of our nephesh, our personality. That remains for a while. The general idea was about 40 days after death. It can hang around the physical body, or it can move, it can do all kinds of things. It goes through processes at that time. Then the nephesh is now the only body for the soul, the neshama. And like the flesh, it must also die and dissolve back into its subtle elements. It releases the soul, which, like angelic and all other eternal beings, is androgynous. In life, the nephesh, or human personality, has both defiled and sanctified the neshama by its deeds. The bodiless soul now undertakes an intense self-examination to purify and free itself from defilement. The duration of this purification depends upon the extent of defilement, but the ancient rabbis said that in no case did it last longer than 1 year, and for most people it lasted only a few days or hours, and those who had kept themselves pure did not experience it. It is not the Christian idea of hell. This introspection process, or Gehenna, is limited to the interior world of that soul's personal incarnation. It's like a room of mirrors. Now, introspection of one's interior world is devastating if it's never been done in life. If it has been done in life, one cannot become trapped in the images that are brought forth and brought up, many of them very terrible. The soul experiences internal images of inadequacy, fear, and evil as it enters the state of Gehenna. But this is not a punishment. It's a period of attunement that is experienced as emotional suffering by those who are far out of tune with spiritual reality. And if you know anything about music, you know that dissonance increases as we attune strings or other instruments to each other. The beats increase and the dissonance increases until finally the attunement locks in, and all of a sudden it's very smooth. Here's an example. Now this continues until consciousness has been purified and sleeps in peace, awaiting reincarnation, or one has achieved the kima, the so-called resurrection of the tzaddikim, the just, the pure. The soul awakens in the eternal olam of Godhead, the eternal state of being of Godhead, without need of reincarnation, which was known in Judaism as Gilgul. Yeshua said that those who manifest the spiritual realities in life will not taste death. By manifesting the spiritual realities, that means they live the spiritual principles that are part of the actual reality fabric of the universe. They are known sometimes as the Sephirot, or names of Godhead: justice, truth, beauty. They exercise daily purifications of the soul in thought, word, and deed, and therefore little or no purification is necessary after death. They keep a constant vigil and a constant introspection to discriminate and follow the selfless not the selfish motivations, because there are two motivations at the heart of all things, said Yeshua. And they are devoted to cultivating the eternal spiritual verities or names of Godhead in daily life, such as love, compassion, wisdom, justice, truth, beauty. And they're guided by the outer, inner, and secret halakha of Yeshua for spiritual rebirth, which are similar to the teachings found in Buddhism and other spiritual traditions, but never transmitted in Christianity.